Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery who I only just introduced you to on the channel for the first time maybe a couple of weeks ago. But we're going to have a look at a different style of beer from them this time, and this is a style that I have to say I've been getting really back into again over the last little while. So I'm very curious to see what their interpretation of it is. So for this review then we are going to go back to Nyköping, which is an hour and a half or so to the southwestish of Stockholm, and we're having a look at another beer from Nyköping Brewing Company. So this one is called the Palace Pils. It comes in at 4.7% ABV. As the name suggests, it is a Pilsner lager style of beer. And this one was released on the 1st of June 2020 through the local and småskaligt assortment in Systembolaget here in Sweden. The last beer that I had from these guys was the Equinox Call Me IPA, which was a really quite interesting one. It was a little bit more kind of grainy and crisp and farmhousey compared to some of the other New England IPAs that I've had. But the thing that I find really quite interesting about this brewery is that they are a brewery pub almost the same kind of size as Malmö Brewing Company, who are one of my favourite breweries here in Sweden. I just really wish they would can some of their beers and get them out there a little bit more, because I think they're doing some awesome stuff down there. But as I say, I've been getting really into my lager beers again quite recently, and I'm hoping that this one is a really nice take on the style. So fingers crossed for that, and it's nice to return to Nyköping Brewing Company once again. Hopefully I can get up there and have a little look at their pub one time and maybe film an out and about review, or you know, a bit of an interview or something with these guys as well. That would be pretty cool. We'll just need to see what I can manage for you in the future. But like I say, a 4.7% Pilsner style beer this one, and it should hopefully be an interesting beer review. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Nyköping Brewing Company before. Hopefully we can add some more to that list in the fairly near future. There's all the usual social media down there too. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Nyköping Brewing Company then, on to my brewery notes once again. So Nyköping Brewery, as I've told you already, are based in Nyköping, about an hour and a half or so to the kind of southwestish of Stockholm, the capital city in Sweden, and they were founded back in 2017 by Jonas Kandefelt and Sase Seperetsar, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. But Jonas has a lot of experience in the brewing industry, having worked for Spendrups during the 1990s, one of the big Swedish breweries, and then having served as the CEO of Nils Oskar for over 10 years until 2016. Sase, on the other hand, has a background in the restaurant industry, and he also runs the restaurant 8 in Nyköping, and he has experience with various other restaurants in the local area. But both of these guys work in the day-to-day operations of the brewery, but they also recruited Patrick Holmqvist as their brewer, who had previously worked with Jonas at Nils Oskar. So a very, he's got a hell of a lot of experience from what I gather. He was at Nils Oskar for well over 10 years from what I understand. So this brewery started out brewing their beers at Vermlands Brewery back in 2017. So they did start off as a kind of gypsy brewer, if you like, but in 2019 they managed to set up their own brewery in central Nyköping in a building that was previously part of the Södermanland Museum, and it actually looks pretty nice. If you look at their Facebook and their website and things, it does look like a really nice kind of setup that they've got there. So they bought a 1,000 litre brewing kit from Coppersmiths Brewery, who are fairly local to them if I remember correctly, and they bought a number of 1,000 and 2,000 litre fermentation tanks as well, and I think they are planning to expand their capacity a little bit over the next while as well. But they've also got an on-site bar and restaurant at the brewery. The menu for the food looks very nice, and if I remember correctly, it opens up from on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday actually. So as I say, hopefully I can get up there at some point and maybe film an interview in the place with the guys, and you know, maybe I can actually do a little on-site filming and things like that. That would be really quite cool. But as of June 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, they produced 38 different varieties of beer, and I think, I might be wrong, but I think this one and the Equinaut Call Me IPA, I think these were the first two that were released in Systembolaget. So yeah, exciting times for these guys going ahead, and hopefully they are successful. Always cool to see new kind of brewery, pub style breweries coming out actually and getting their beers out there a little bit more. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Nyköping Brewing Company for the moment. If you want to learn a little bit more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as I told you at the start of the video, this one is a 4.7% Pils style beer. Apparently it is hopped with Czech Sats, and I think that is Patrick Holmqvist on the front there. I think Palle is maybe his nickname. Of course, me being Scottish and Patrick being an Irish name, normally we would call them, you know, Big Paddy would be the short thing for the name. So Palle is quite an interesting one as a nickname, if you like. But yeah, I think from what I read, I found an article actually on beernews.se, and it says that the recipe for this beer was one that Palle developed back in 1993, and he developed it in his own kind of home brewery that he had. So yeah, this one should be really quite interesting. It is, as I say, derived from a really quite old recipe, if it is indeed still the same one. But yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we go on. Nice artwork once again from Nyköping Brewing Company, and there you can see that is the brewery's symbol there. But yeah, Palace Pils on the back. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. A 4.7% Pilsner style beer with Czech Sats hops. 440ml can, this one. I actually can't remember how much I paid for this. Maybe 35 kroners or something like that. So yeah, definitely quite good. So yeah, hopefully, as I say, this is a nice take on the style. What you always want from a Pilsner is, you know, you look for them to be very authentic and close to the German ones. And, you know, as I mentioned earlier, I used to live in Germany. I studied at Heidelberg University in Germany. So, yeah, I am a bit picky when it comes to the German traditional styles. I love the German traditional styles of beer, and I am, you know, pretty hard to impress with these. So hopefully this turns out to be a really good one. So, yeah, as you can see with this one, it's poured a lovely kind of bright yellow, a kind of pale golden straw kind of colour actually, but if I shine it in front of the camera it maybe looks a little bit kind of darker than that. But yeah, lovely pale golden straw colour for me, this one. There was a solid 2/3 finger of a frothy white head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few bigger bubbles sticking towards the side of it, but yeah, as I say, a few smaller ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. The head, I think, from underneath looks a little bit more kind of bumpy and things, and that's just going to fade away gradually and be a very, very thin foamy layer. But in terms of its appearance, nothing particularly surprising about this beer when you consider what style it is. So yeah, looks good. And let's have a taste, or let's have a look at the aroma, sorry, of this one then, and see how we get on. Curious to see how this beer turns out. Now that does smell pretty authentic actually. Yeah, to me, first off I'll say it comes across as really quite smooth. I'm pretty sure that's German. I'm pretty sure that's German Pils malt in there. The thing that you always have to watch between the German and Czech varieties, when it comes to lager beers, you know, in Germany you've got the Helles, you've got the Dunkel, the Schwarzbier, and of course the Doppelbock is a lager style of beer as well. But in the Czech Republic you've got the Svetli, which is the equivalent of the Helles, the Letzak, which is more like an amber Vienna lager, if I'm getting those two round the right way. You've got the Cherny, which is the Dunkel equivalent, and the Tmavé, which is the Schwarzbier equivalent. The Czech ones are always a little bit more kind of bready and smooth, if you like, whereas the German ones, at least in my experience, tend to be a little bit more kind of crisper, or more crisp. Don't know what the correct English is there, but yeah, should know that, native speaker, that's terrible. But yeah, the German ones I always find are a little bit more kind of crisp, and the Czech ones are a little bit more sort of bready, if you like. This one, interestingly, kind of just smells, it smells a little bit more bready there, but it's distinctively German in its malt character. I think the Pilsner malt is very distinctive because it gives you that kind of light sort of bready quality, but at the same time it just smells very crisp. You know, if you know your beer, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I always get a bit frustrated when I do Pilsner reviews because it's such a hard thing to describe. You can just almost smell the crispness coming off the Pilsner malt there. But as I say, you've got a lovely little bit of a kind of white bready, pale malty type quality coming off of this one. This one for me, there is a very slight there is a little bit of a kind of very light sort of biscuity kind of note coming out of this one. Usually with these beers you'll get a little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive sort of thing. Sometimes you can get a full blown kind of stronger caramel out of them, but for me this one smells as if it's almost just kind of pure Pilsner malt. Honestly, it won't be that in the recipe, I wouldn't think. I don't think they would only use Pilsner malt. I think they would use a little bit of pale malt in the beer as well, but yeah, to me this one just smells really straight up light bready, pale malty, and you get that kind of crisp quality that you would expect. There's a teensy little bit of that biscuity McVitie's digestive thing that I was talking about. Yeah, a teeny little bit, but it really does smell pretty much like straight up Pilsner malt in the base there. So in a way, very authentic, I think. Actually, it's almost got a little bit of the kind of Helles type breadiness out of it actually, and yeah, the Munich Helles beers, they do tend to be a little bit more kind of straight up and bready than the Pilsner. The Pilsner actually originated in the city of Pilsen, which was known as Pilsner in Germany. It was the Bohemia region in the Czech Republic was kind of dual ethnic, if you like. You know, there's Czechs living there and there was Germans living there. The original Pilsner was the Pilsner Urquell, or Plzeňský Prastroj, as it was known in Czech, developed by a German brewer, but obviously brewed in what is now the Czech Republic. So yeah, it's interesting that I'm not quite clear exactly on where the Helles obviously feels a little bit more kind of smooth and bready, whereas the Pilsner is a lot crisper and things like that. But yeah, they are both different sort of types of lager, if you like. But yeah, obviously the Pilsners were originally a style that were native to Pilsen, but they've kind of spread out a lot further than that. But yeah, the aroma of this one, I think, I love that kind of breadiness that you get out of it. It really does have a little bit of an almost Munich Helles type vibe about it there, which is quite interesting. That's an interesting point to make about this one. It does smell a little bit more like a Helles than a Pilsner, just because there's not such a, it doesn't quite have the kind of biscuity, it's like almost slight sweetness that you sometimes, or that you mostly get from this kind of style actually. So that's an interesting point to make about the aroma. On the hoppy side of things though, it really does have exactly what you'd expect. It's got a nice little bit of that kind of light earthiness there. You can smell the nice kind of quite bright floral character that's characteristic of the Saaz hop in this one. I always find the Saaz hops are just a little bit brighter, I think, than the Hallertaus and the Tittnagers from Germany, so you get that nice kind of quite bright floral character there, but you've got a nice kind of very light grassiness to the beer as well. And I would say, in terms of the sort of hoppy character of the beer, I think it actually does lean a little bit more towards the grassy side of things there, but you do, almost on the sides of the nose, if you like, get that lovely bright kind of floral character out of it. On the fruity side of things, it is kind of exactly what you'd expect. You've got a little bit of that kind of peary ester coming out of it. I don't find this one really appley. It's a bit more kind of peary and almost gooseberry-like in the notes that are coming out of it. Yeah, I'd say, peary and gooseberry-ish, to be honest with you. It's not, the gooseberry notes aren't all that strong. It's got a little bit of that typical kind of grassy, sort of almost lemony kind of citrusy note coming out of it. But yeah, the grassy notes almost come across as being quite smooth rather than quite sharp and citrusy, if that makes sense. So in terms of comparing this to other Pilsners, I'd definitely say this one almost just smells a little bit kind of smoother than the other ones I've had. So I'm really curious to see how this one turns out in its flavour profile in comparison to the aroma, because really, if I was blind smelling this, I've got a feeling that I might say it was a Munich Helles or something like that rather than a Pilsner, to be honest with you. So yeah, that would be curious. I wonder if I did have a blind smell of some of these beers, I wonder what I would say. I need to do some more kind of blind tastings and stuff for you on the channel. But yeah, I think this one, in honesty, I think the aroma is a little bit more like a Munich Helles, and I would say if we compare that to the Czech Svetli, I would say that the Czech one would, maybe I could mistake it for I might even say that it was a Czech beer just because of the kind of smoothness and the breadiness in there. So that would be an interesting thing actually to pick out. But yeah, I think definitely one of the smoother slightly more kind of bready-ish, Munich Helles type Pilsners that I've come across. So yeah, take a bit of time to enjoy that aroma, because I think it is a little bit different for a Pilsner style beer. But let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Palace Pils, coming in at 4.7% ABV from Nyköping Brewing Company in Nyköping, just to the kind of southwestish of Stockholm. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål. That's nicely done. That is a nicely done Pils. Yeah. Yeah, I have to say, thumbs up. Solid effort from these guys. It's got the crispness that you want. It's got the kind of light malty base that you have, and yeah, it compared to the other ones that I've had, this one definitely leans more towards that kind of bready end of the spectrum, rather than rather than having a wee bit of a biscuity, kind of sweeter, kind of caramelly note in it actually. So that's an interesting point to make about this one. This one is, it doesn't really have sweetness to it, this beer, which some Pilsners can have actually. One of the best Pilsners that I've had recently was actually the Skånsk Lager from Julia Brewery down here in Skåne, and the Fin Pilsner that they do as well is very nice. And it's actually, this one reminds me a little bit of the Fin Pilsner actually. Yeah, definitely a bit more sort of bready and things like that. This is definitely on the breadier end of the Pilsner category, if you like. So yeah, I think this is a solid effort on the style. So yeah, if you like a more kind of bready, pale malty-ish leaning Pilsner, this is one that you are going to enjoy. And I'm finding that the further you go into the aftertaste with this one, it does get, you know, kind of quite grainy almost on the middle of the palate. So that's an interesting point. Pardon me, getting a bit of gas out of this. That's an interesting point to make about this beer as well, actually. But yeah, I think this is a pretty solid Pilsner, actually. I think comparing this one to the Equinox Call Me IPA, I think that this one, I think, you know, I would probably be tempted to drink this one over the Equinox, actually, to be honest with you. I think the Pilsner, the thing you always look for in a Pilsner is authenticity, and I think, you know, this one, I think, is pretty damn solid in that regard. So yeah, thumbs up to Nyköping Brewing Company for this one. Definitely one of the kind of breadier Pilsners that I've come across, actually. And I say that, but yeah, the more that you drink of it, the more you do get a little bit of sweetness in the middle of the palate too. But I think the authenticity, as I say, the thing you always look for in this style is the authenticity, comparing it to the German ones. It's got the crispness, it's got the kind of bready maltiness there, and I'm finding that the more I drink of it, the more it does actually develop a little bit of a sweet quality to it as well. So yeah, thumbs up to them on this. They've got a solid Pilsner here in my mind. And yeah, as I say, I'm a big fan of the traditional German style, so this is a style that I think I do have a strong appreciation for. So yeah, don't take that lightly when I say that these beers are solid. I am pretty hard to impress with these. But yeah, for me then, let's try and break the flavour of this down a little bit then. So straight away with this one, you can feel that sort of Pilsnery malt crispness just blanketing the middle of your, just blanketing the middle of your tongue. You can feel the further you go into the aftertaste, particularly if you look at the middle third of your tongue, you can feel the base there. You can really feel it getting more grainy and kind of drier the further you go into the aftertaste. It really gets a little bit of a kind of grainy, almost bitterness out in the middle of the palate too, the further you go into it, which is quite interesting. But when you've got the liquid on your tongue, it's definitely got a little bit more of a kind of sweeter character there as well. So in the very, very centre of your palate, you do have a little bit of a kind of sweetness there. It's almost like a McVitie's kind of digestive. It's definitely got a sort of McVitie's digestive kind of vibe to it in the middle of your palate there, which I really quite like. Yeah, it is pretty damn solid in that regard, I have to say. So yeah, definitely a bit of a kind of slightly stronger sweetness in the very centre of your tongue. As you move further out from that, it gradually gets more and more grainy and biscuity, like I say. But underneath, you get that sort of that distinctive Pilsner malt kind of crispness, kind of just forming the backbone of the beer. It gives you the impression in the aroma of being a lot more bready than it actually is. But I would say that this one it really is a more kind of malty leaning rather than sweet leaning Pilsner. It's definitely fair to say that about this one. If you go towards the back third of your tongue, then definitely there's a lot of graininess and kind of crisp, kind of crisp notes coming out of this beer, which is quite interesting. So yeah, definitely would say that about this beer. Yeah, I like how this one. I do like how this one goes together. In terms of that, at the back of the palate, I think you do get a good bit of bitterness out of this beer actually, and I think some of it is coming from the kind of grainy notes, particularly on that back third of the tongue. But when you go to the the hoppy side of the beer, in the back corners of the palate, you have got a good little bit of a darker earthiness there. As you come kind of further forward along the sides of the palate, you really get a nice big floral aromaticity out of this one. I think it's the Czech Sats, as I say, it gives you quite a bright, almost slightly spicier floral aromaticity compared to the German hops. Then round the front curve of the tongue, it's just that little bit lighter and more grassy. But yeah, there is a good little bit of bitterness to this beer. This has got to be at least 30 IBUs, I would think, maybe if not a little bit more. But behind the front curve of the palate and that front third of the tongue, that's where you get the nice oily bubble, where the juicy fruity esters push their way out of the beer. So yeah, I like how this one, I do like how this one goes together. It's definitely growing on me the more that I drink of it. But yeah, that front third of your tongue, you've got a nice little bit of a darker kind of citricy quality to this one, which really kind of lingers there, I think, the further into the aftertaste, and it sort of almost has a little bit of a kind of antagonistic effect. It sort of plays into the kind of more grainy aspects of this beer actually. But yeah, good little bit of a kind of citrusy, grassy note there. The floral aromaticity is kind of playing into that as well. But yeah, quite a citrusy leaning IPA in my mind. It's got a real kind of zestiness to it on the kind of front edge of your tongue there. But yeah, a lot of kind of almost lemony citrus coming out of this one. I'd say, what would we say about the fruity side of the beer? Yeah, it's got a wee bit of that, as I say, quite a bit of a citrusy kind of quality. You've got some nice appley notes, a little bit of a kind of peary ester coming out of it as well. And yeah, I like how that, I do like how that kind of goes together in my mind. A bit of citrusy note, a little bit of an appley, yes, a little bit of a peariness, and you do get just a wee touch of, I don't think you really get the goose. I think there's a wee teeny bit of a gooseberry almost to it, but not as much as the aroma might have you believe. So I think this one is actually quite different in its flavour profile compared to how it is in its aroma profile. So that's quite interesting. But I think both of these beers that I've had from Nyköping Brewing Company just now, they lean towards the kind of grainier end of the spectrum, and I think this one gets quite, the middle of your palate gets quite dry and a bit more bitter, I think, the further you go into the aftertaste with these beers. So that's an interesting point. I don't know if that's the kind of yeast or the specific type of grains and stuff that they're using, but yeah, I find there is a good bit of bitterness comes out of the grainy side of both the beers I've had from this brewery so far. So yeah, interesting, but yeah, quite a solid, definitely a solid Pilsner, this one. I like what they've done with this, so it does get a thumbs up from me, but definitely one of the more malty leaning ones rather than being one of the slightly sweeter leaning ones, if that makes sense. But yeah, in terms of the mouthfeel then, definitely quite a light-bodied beer. Yeah, definitely light-bodied. Carbonation does have a good degree of smoothness to the beer, but it also gives you a nice bit of crispness as well, particularly at the front of the palate, I think. On the hoppy side of things, I think this one's got to be about 40-ish IBUs. It does feel a little bit stronger than just simply, you know, your standard 25 or so that you have in a Pilsner, 20 or 25. I think it's a bit stronger than that. So I think there's maybe about 40 IBUs in this beer. The malt base, like I say, is quite light and a lot of crispness and graininess out of it. Like I say, a little touch of sweetness in the middle of the palate, but definitely not one of the sweeter Pilsners you're going to come from, and there is just a little bit of a fruitiness in there as well, but definitely one of the more bitter, grainy and kind of more malty leaning Pilsners that I've had in recent times. But I like this one. I'd be curious to try it on tap and just and see how it comes across. So yeah, have a go at this one for yourself and see what you think. This has been an interesting one to review. I enjoy reviewing these traditional German styles of beer, and I think they've got a pretty solid They've got a pretty damn solid one here. So yeah, do give me some more Swedish Pilsner recommendations, and I'll see about reviewing those for you on the channel, because this is a style that I really do quite enjoy reviewing. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Palace Pils, coming in at 4.7% ABV from Nyköping Brewing Company in Nyköping, Södermanland County, just to the south of Stockholm here in Sweden. So yeah, thank you again for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Nyköping Brewing Company as well, and I will catch you guys again soon with more reviews. Check out my social media, check out Nyköping Brewing Company, and I will catch you guys later. The Palace Pils coming in at 4.7% ABV. Slange, skål, cheers.